This is Brian Mayer, host of Hot Sauce Weekly, and you are listening to BCRN, all barbecue and grilling all the time.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evenings, a live fire, fun, and frivolity show. If you'd like to get in contact with the show this evening, or you would like to follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do all that.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you can get the newsletter. It is a new month. It is November, and we are in a hot night tonight. Aside from being a live fire, fun, and frivolity show, we are exercising our right to vote as well. So why not bring in election coverage specialist and live fire cooking expert Malcom Reed from How to Barbecue Right? Malcom, of course, will tell us who he voted for, which will cause zero controversy, and then we will move on to the more mundane things like Wagyu beef and football and horse meat and other such nonsense. And then at 35 past the hour, we will welcome a brand new guest, somebody who is really into fitness, somebody who has run triathlons, somebody who has found CrossFit passion, but more than that, somebody who is an avid and robust backyard griller. Eric Hinman joins the show. Over 330,000 of you already following him on the Instagrams, seeing what he's all about. So first-time guest Eric Hinman to close out the first hour. And then we will move to the second hour because it is the first Tuesday of a brand new month, and we cross our fingers and hope that he shows YouTube cooking sensation and media maven Sam the Cooking Guy, 14 past the second hour. And then depending on how long that goes, I've left 35 past the second hour open. We have some housekeeping items to get to. I have this update to give you. If you're not watching, you missed that. I pointed to a shirt. You know what that means. So we'll get an update on that. And I have some other things to talk about as well before we close the show out. But that's how it's laying out here this evening. Malcom Reed and Eric Hinman in the first hour. Sam the Cooking Guy and your humble host in the second hour. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, and LinkedIn, all at the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of the video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook.com/BBQ Central Show or Twitter.com/BBQ Central Show. You can also watch over on YouTube, which is YouTube.com/@BBQ Central Show, where we have a new YouTube poll question of the week. And we're asking everybody this, including all guests. It's a loaded question, so forgive me. Would you rather make your own steak at home versus eating it at a steakhouse? And currently, wow, 100% of you are saying yes, you would prefer to make your own steak at home versus eating at a steakhouse. I'll get more into that here in a second. We do not have results from the poll question last week because there was no live show last week. There was new to you content dumped in the podcast feed, but there was not a live show last week in case you missed it. Of course, that sparks the question and where we start this evening. Where were you last Tuesday? Great question. As many of you know, I am now a high level, one of the most senior members of the truck group. We call me a director of sales, of course. I can fire a lot of people. One of my biggest accounts as I transitioned from major accounts manager to director of sales was a company out in Tampa, Florida. We've secured them, and they wanted to meet me and my boss, the VP of truck sales. He's the only person ahead of me, by the way. He can fire me, but I can fire everybody else. And if I ask the owner of the company real nice like, I could probably get Mike fired as well, but I don't. I like Mike. So we were in Tampa a week ago. At this stage of the game, we were at Charlie's Steakhouse in Tampa, Florida, which is from what they tell me, old school steakhouse. There was a lot of wood furniture. There was a lot of wood on the walls. There was a lot of wood on the ceilings. Surprisingly, there was a live wood-fired grill in the center of the kitchen. I'm always a little leery on what's legally allowed through code these days, but I do see more real wood grills that are being used. Of course, in my estimation, that does take a little bit more of a expert griller to cook those steaks because a little harder to manage a fire if you don't know what you're doing when you have live coals underneath it versus using a broiler like a Schwank or a regular grill, something along these lines. And that's where the question was born. I mean, this wasn't a cheap date by any stretch of the imagination. I think between five of us, we were in towards $1,200-$1,300. A lot of that was not like drinking or anything like that. It was food, so it's pretty expensive. And I had a prime 21-day dry age ribeye. And I have to tell you, it has led me to the belief that I can no longer go out and have a restaurant steak anymore, no matter the elite level of that steakhouse. Now, where I will contradict myself immediately would be I would certainly give another chance to RPM Steakhouse in Chicago, which was my most substantially awesome experience at a steakhouse, and then a 1B to that, and I've been there 5 or 6 times over the last handful of years going through volleyball in Indianapolis, Indiana, of course, the St. Elmo, which has always been top tier. But after that, it falls off, and it falls off quickly. Unfortunately, what doesn't fall off is the amount of money that you're spending at a lot of these high-level steakhouses that, to me, are giving me, let's say, average to a little bit above average steak end product. That doesn't cut it for me anymore. That's disappointing. That doesn't make me want to go to steakhouses anymore, and it makes me want to research what else is in the area. Does this have, or is it known more for its Latin flavors, or is there Asian flavors that I should be looking at instead of just easily going to whatever the most popular steakhouse is? And I'm not ready to spend either my money or the company's money on what is average steak going forward. And Charlie's cinched it for me. It is exactly what I think is wrong with a lot of what I would call higher end steakhouses. Even my boss said he thought the drinks were light. I mean, that's where you got to make it up. At least pour the drinks stiff if you're going to order a drink. Don't go light on that. And then come with your average to slightly above average steaks. So Charlie's a no-go for me. Charlie's puts me over the edge on not wanting to go to steakhouses anymore, if I can at all deter that. I got an email from Bob in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let me read through this. I don't have enough time to get through that. Bob, we might put you off until the second hour. What I can say is this. Watching on remote location, none other than Maddie Rempe and Steve Susnick.
Hey, everybody. Can I trouble you for a Hoya?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Gang, you're in luck because coming up in just a few short minutes, our pal Malcom Reed will be joining us, and you might be mystified at where the topic goes, at least to start. Maybe not starting right off the bat, but second topic, you might be mystified. Maybe you won't be. Maybe I've jaded you. Maybe this has jaded you. The Schwank Grill. One of the newest sponsors, but has become now a very supportive sponsor of this show over the last handful of months. SchwankGrills.com, the website, SchWank, Schwank Grills. It's the one everybody's talking about. You're probably seeing it all over social media because they are on the attack. And why not? Great grill, great right now because super portable. Take it to any tailgate that you're being invited to, or perhaps you're throwing, or you're couch gating, as Meathead would call it, where you're staying home, but you're still cooking that tailgate-style food for football games. What do you need to know? First and foremost, when you really crank it, those burners can get up to 1,500 degrees using that infrared burner technology. Of course, if you're cooking steaks, this is what it means to you. You can cook steak in about 3, 4, or 5 minutes, depending on thickness. No more wasting your life on cooking the proteins you want. Schwank Grills does it quickly and with great results. The infrared burner technology, the same stuff that they're using at Morton's or Del Frisco's or Cut 432. And it's not like Schwank technology. It's the same Schwank technology that they're using there that you can now put in your backyard. It's not only a steak cooker. It can handle the most robust meats. It will also do delicate fish, salmon, for instance, lobster tails, cooks in about 5 minutes. You can cook chicken breasts in as little as 3 to 4 minutes, shrimps, burgers, all that kind of stuff. And with many adjustable heights, you're able to really manage the heat and how intense it hits the food by lowering or raising the levels. Do I hear a new addition to the backyard for grilling season that's coming up next year? Or how about the holiday season? That's right, whoop-de-doo and dickory-dock. We got some Black Friday deals coming up about next week, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, you want a deal, I know you. If you use promo code BBQ Central at checkout, you can save $150 off a Schwank Grill. It's that easy to save money and enjoy restaurant quality heat. Promo code BBQ Central at the Schwank Grills website. That's schwankgrills.com. Click on the link in the newsletter or go to the homepage, or click on the Schwank Grills logo on the main page of the website. It's a visit with Malcom Reed coming up next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit cookinpellets.com to see all of their products, and then go to amazon.com or walmart.com or lowes.com to purchase. Same great products, just great shipping rates. Good folks over at cookinpellets.com. My first guest this evening, and in a new month that we call November, is none other than the pitmaster over at Killer Hogs Competition Team and the co-founder of How to Barbecue Right, now seeing close to 2 million YouTube subscribers. It's our pal Malcom Reed. Malcom, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, And wow, somebody actually said no, and I can't believe it. Would you rather cook your steak at home versus going to a steakhouse? Yes or no?
Oh, yes, all day.
Yes, 91% of us are saying yes, we would prefer to go to a steakhouse. I believe, well, it's not telling me what the breakdown is, but at least one person has decided to say no. So maybe they're just new getting into the live fire cooking scene and not feeling ultra confident. I'd mentioned in the show open I was out at a place called Charlie's last week. That's why I didn't have a live show. And that put me over the edge, where now I'm not even looking for steakhouse. If a customer is looking to have the company provide meal on our dime, I'm not going to mention steakhouse. If they talk about steakhouse, I'm going to try and talk them out of it. Where are you falling on steakhouse steaks if you're going out?
Well, it's more about the experience. You touched on it a little bit. That's what I really look for in a restaurant, because I know I can cook a better steak at home. There's no doubt. So, I'm going to go somewhere where the service is good. The first course, I like to try all the appetizers, but I'm usually not going to get the ribeye when I go. I've just learned. I might go fish. I may go lamb. I may go something off the wall that's, chef special or something, but I'm not going to go steak. But I still like to go out to a nice dinner. It's nice to, go out and do that.
If you go to a high-end steakhouse, are you getting, or do you find that they give you that meat presentation before you actually go to order, where they're showing the raw cuts wrapped in plastic?
I've had that. I don't know if it impresses me a whole lot to see them or not. Walk around to show you the steak and all that. I don't need to pick that out. I want them to pick out the best one in the back of the cut I order. I don't have to see it raw.
This is not a sports show, but in September, we turned it into a sports show for just a hot second. And you were setting expectation that the Minnesota Vikings were going to be, in a word, horrible. And what we have come to find out is that the 5-2 Vikes are having the season I thought the Cleveland Browns would be having at this point, but it's exactly in reverse. What the hell happened?
Hey, we got lucky. I think it's coaching on the Vikings part. I mean, we got some talent, but when they had, when Darnold's the quarterback, how many teams he's been at 2 teams and run off. So I was not expecting it at all. We're getting above average quarterback play from him, which is great to see. The coaching has been outstanding, but I think the real key has been the defense getting after it. Our defensive line's looking really, really good, and it's been fun to watch them. I think the 2 games that the Vikings lost, I felt like they should have won. It wasn't like they weren't in it there at the end, even against Detroit. So I'm looking forward to that late season rematch to play the Lions again, and hopefully the Vikings will still be in contention.
I was going to say, we're about halfway through the NFL schedule. Do you feel confident that this is something that they can sustain through another 8 games?
I think so. Looking at their schedule, it's not too rough. The North's tough. Green Bay's playing pretty good ball when their quarterback's healthy, and Detroit's got to be the cream of the crop.
Oh yeah,
in the NFC. So it's going to be fun to watch.
Malcolm, have we never had the horse meat discussion on the show before? Or perhaps the better question is, have you been blissfully unaware of my grassroots movement to get horse meat consumption in this country legalized?
I have. We've never talked about it. Yeah, and it just came up on my podcast a couple episodes ago, and someone said I had to talk to you about horse meat. Ask Greg. So I want to know, man, what's the thoughts on it?
Well, first and foremost, let's preface any further discussion by saying this. You cannot buy or ship horse meat for consumption in this country. Neither Malcolm nor myself are telling you that you have to go eat it. I mean, if you want to try it, the best thing to do is leave the country. Go to Canada, where it's legal. Go to Mexico, where it's legal. Or go to Europe, where they have restaurant after restaurant that serves horse meat prepared in whatever the hell the way they prepare horse meat is. Now, I know some people that have been in places where it's legally allowed to be served and consumed. I'll be honest, I haven't had one person tell me that it was terrible or that it was gross or that it was off-putting. Quite the contrary. They were saying how delicious it was and how similar to beef it was that we would know here in the States. A little bit more lean, of course. That kind of goes with the territory. And they did say, Gamey isn't the word, but there was just a light irony flavor note that was kind of running through it for the majority of their eating experience. But by and large, nobody was poo-pooing on horse meat. So here's what you need to know about my grassroots movement. I think I'm the only one in the country that has this right now. Right here is the processing, cooking, and buying of horse meat for human consumption. This is the reference material as it was seen when, let me show you when, because I know you're interested in that. All the way back in 1952, Leon Kenny wrote this, I don't know, would you call this a book or a pamphlet for me? For 25 cents, Malcolm, you too could have owned a copy of how to eat and prepare and buy horse meat for human consumption.
You know, I'm not knocking anybody for trying. In fact, just like you said, everybody that's commented on mine that's actually ate it says it's not bad at all. But I guess it's just a faux pas. It's one of those things where when I think about it, I don't think of horse as being something that we should eat. It's a lot like dog or cat or something like that. I just don't think we should eat it. But that being said, I mean, if it come down to it, I'd probably eat a horse. If I was starving, I wouldn't think twice about it.
So you make a good point, and this has been one of my running arguments. By the way, there's somebody probably listening to the show right now by the name of Diane Me, who, when I was really on the horse meat kick a number of years ago, like I was infiltrating youth. This is when Bobby was in the middle of her travel volleyball days. I had the Horse Meat 2016, Horse Meat 2017 t-shirts, and I was giving them to the JO volleyball players to just like wear out in the wild so people would ask them about it. I made my own little proselytizers of trying to legalize horse meat. Obviously, you can see where it's gotten me, like nowhere quick. However, if you look at a farm and you run a fence right down the middle of the farm, on one side of that fence you have, as you mentioned, cats, dogs, and horses. You don't eat them. Nobody thinks about eating them. It's poo-pooed on, all that fun stuff. On the other side of the fence, you literally have every other animal ever, which are also on the you can eat it if you want to list. In other words, it's not illegal to eat it, but how did the horse make it over on the other side of the fence with the cats and dogs? What's your best guess?
Well, I did a little research on it, and the best thing that I could tell, besides what people thought about it, was they say that all the stuff that horses have been fed over the years has done something to the meat, supposedly. And I don't know whether it's, medicine, what man's fed them or what, but they claim that that's why the government can't inspect horse meat for human consumption. Now, I don't know how true that is. You Google something and you don't know whether you believe it or not, but I think it's more of the thought that we view these things as, a companion almost. You think of a cowboy with his trusty steed, it's one thing. You don't have this conception of eating that horse like you would a cow or a pig or a chicken or something like that. And the same thing goes for pets. But, I guess if times got tough, they'd probably eat you.
So no doubt about that. If you look back over times getting tough through American history, it has been legal, and there were plenty of times where consumption of horse meat was not only done out of financial necessity, but there was a preference. There was a lot of detailed writings about Americans eating horse meat through the years, especially when times were tough. Beef was too expensive, so horse meat comes in, kind of saves the day from a protein standpoint. And nobody was complaining about it back then as far as taste or anything like that. It was all taken in stride and actually preferred in some instances. So not until maybe 2007 when the federal government stopped funding inspections for horse meat. I think that's really what kills the industry. So they were processing horse, but they weren't selling it here. Of course, it was getting shipped mostly to Canada or Mexico where it's legal to eat, but they were processing it here. But as soon as you stop funding inspection, that business becomes like financially unfeasible to continue to run, because if the government isn't subsidizing it, the cost to bring inspectors in on your own is way too much. And quickly, those businesses evaporated from the face of the earth. If you go to Italy or France or Canada where it is legal to eat, are you confident that if you saw it on the menu, you would go ahead and order it above all else just to give it a try?
I don't know about above all else, but if there's a group there with me, I would take a bite.
If I ordered it, you would say, hey, let me get a quick bite of that horse?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd have to try it because, I mean, I'm still one of those guys. I'm not going to knock it till I try it. I mean, I've tried mountain oysters. I didn't think I would like those, and they're delicious. So it goes along that. You know, it's just some things you get in your head, oh, I shouldn't, you know, maybe I shouldn't eat this or it's going to be weird. And then you get the nerve up to try it and you like it. So, I mean.
I would like to.
There's always that one kid in school that ate glue, so apparently some people like it.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, that's not illegal. You eat glue, and you're not allowed to eat the horse. I mean, horses glue. I see what you're doing. You're kind of bringing it into a mix there. I see what you're doing. I would like to, again, double down on the fact that, look, don't eat horse. So where the gray area exists currently, and I did study up on this, if you had a horse, Malcolm, and the horse died, I mean, maybe you could go ahead and like dispatch the horse if you wanted to because you want to eat it. I don't know. But if the horse dies, it's not illegal to process it and eat it. You can't sell it. You can't take it anywhere. But if it's on your property and somehow you come into this horse, it's not illegal. It's not illegal for you to eat it. However, medically and health-wise, I don't know, as you said, what kind of medicines you're giving your horse. You know, horse, sometimes it's like bute or whatever the hell they call it, or all those steroids, things like this. I don't know how fast that metabolizes through the horse. That's probably where people are talking, well, if you eat horse, you're going to die if you eat it because they're pumped full of all these medications. Understood, not telling you to do that. Just, again, putting out for public consumption, because Malcolm obviously wants to partner with me in the legalization of horse meat for human consumption. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure he wants to do that with me. We're going to get it going.
We can do it.
This is. Can you imagine for one moment having a herd of Wagyu horse or raising them? And so raising them for consumption. There's not going to be a worker. It's not going to be running races or doing dressage or any nonsense like that. You're literally raising it to eat. I think you could have a pretty lean and healthy protein on your hands.
I could see it. I mean, you know, how about we do ponies instead? They're a little. It might be a little more tender.
But all of a sudden, I feel like we've crossed a line that we can't uncross now. Like, ponies are cute. My Little Pony. Horse, I can
get
my head.
I mean,
hey, I love lamb. Yeah. Bring on lamb. I get it, Malcolm. Yeah. Maybe you're more of a pro guy on this than I am, which I certainly appreciate. Yeah. So Malcolm's taking the lead on this. I'm just following him at this point because he's the one. Malcolm's taking the lead. So that's, in a nutshell, that's I forget who the guy that told you to ask me about horse meat was, but he had emailed me too and said, hey, they're talking about horse meat on the How to Barbecue Right podcast. And I was like, God, I swear we've had this conversation before, but evidently this has been a missed opportunity for years.
Yeah, no, I've never really considered it, gave it a whole lot of thought till it came up. But apparently it's a big thing. So, you know, maybe we need to get on the Horse Meat 2025.
Let's get the t-shirt. I smell a t-shirt. I smell a t-shirt. We have your favorite holiday, or one of your favorite holidays, coming up here, end of the month, that being Thanksgiving. Any tips or anything outside the box that you and the Reed family are going to be trying out this year?
I mean, we're pretty traditional when it comes to Thanksgiving. I usually, I've been on a kick of those turkey breasts that we're getting it from our buddy Kevin Green. I know you've probably had one.
Oh yeah.
They're so much better than that whole bird. I mean, I'll be cooking whole turkeys all month. I have to do several videos, and then I always get requests to cook some. And then so I have to take a whole bird to our family, but usually it's for pictures because everybody's eating the turkey breast that I'm bringing. So that's kind of what I'm going with. But I will say, some of the number one tips that you get asked or questions that I get about cooking turkey on Thanksgiving, because that's the traditional what everybody's cooking, is go ahead and buy it. get it in the freezer, and then you can take it out a week ahead of time before you're going to cook it. Give it time to slow thaw. Don't wait to the last minute and go racing around trying to buy a turkey and then speed thaw it and cook it. Just plan it out when you're going to be cooking it. That's the biggest tip I can give you. And if you got time, always put it in a brine. It's going to make it that much better. They're not hard to make. You can, just simple salt, sugar, and water will work. But there's all kinds of recipes out there or pre-packaged products you can buy to brine that turkey to get some more moisture and more flavor in it.
Do you use Malcolm Reed rubs on turkey breast, or are you just like salt guy?
Usually I go a little Cajun style on the turkey breast just because it's so neutral, and I might put it in the brine for a couple hours, but usually I hit it with a little Cajun seasoning just to give it a little peppery, and the Cajun season has the thyme and, parsley and different herbs in there. So you're going to pick up some of those traditional flavors. You're just getting the cayenne pepper, the garlics, the onions, of course, a lot of salt, and it makes it really good on the outside. Because when I cook it, I take that skin off. It's just a boneless, skinless, big, giant turkey breast. And so it's super tender, super juicy, and then it's just got enough seasoning on the outside to give it some flavor. But you really do taste the turkey.
Do we have a hunt camp coming up soon?
Absolutely. I can't.
When does that
happen? Deer season opens. So our rifle season opens the weekend before Thanksgiving.
Oh.
So that Saturday before. So I will be at camp that whole week, and then I'll probably go visit my parents. We'll go up and spend the night with them and have a big Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving Day, and then back to deer camp.
Do you have a quota of deer that you're looking to knock down this year?
No, I mean, we usually eat 2 or 3. My family does a year.
Wow.
But we make summer sausage, we make breakfast sausage, we make link sausage, and then we cut up steaks, and then I always like to keep some whole roast too. But we stock the freezer. But hey, Greg, I'm going on a bison hunt in December.
Where do you do that?
So, and North Dakota. It's like right outside of Bismarck, North Dakota.
Whoa.
It had never been. This is the first time ever I got invited to go, and I couldn't turn down an opportunity. I may never get a chance to go back. So I've got a tag to shoot a bison, and they say when they get it, when it's cut up ready to go home with me, it's going to be about 700 pounds of meat. What? So I've got to buy some freezers, man. I don't even have freezer space for it.
Do they ship it down to you?
No, we're going to bring it back, and I've actually found a USDA mobile butcher in the state of Mississippi. I think there's only a couple of them, but he's actually going to come to us when we get back. We're going to
wait.
It's legal. It's legal to bring bison.
You're gonna knock this bison down, hopefully, and you're bringing it back whole.
Driving it back from Mississippi, like 16, 17 hours.
What are you driving it back in?
It's going to be quartered. It's going to be quartered.
All right. Oof.
That was a question I had, and this is what we're doing. And the guide told us that several people they've done this before. It sounded strange to me because I was looking to rent a refrigerated truck, or a trailer, or something. But he says it's going to be so cold when we're there and there'll be snow that they'll be able to just pack this bison in a regular utility trailer with, I guess, tarps and coolers and pack it with ice. And by the time we get home, it'll be perfect. So I don't know. I'm put a lot of trust in people because this is something I've never done.
What kind of a gun are you using to pop a bison?
I'm going to take a rifle. I've got a 300 Win Mag that I'm going to take. So I hope it's large enough. But
they don't tell you what to bring.
Yeah, it's kind of up to you, I think, what you want to bring. Some people shoot them with a bow, compound bow. So it's possible to take one.
Wow.
From what I've seen on the hunts, it's kind of like you go out and you kind of spot them, and then you try to stalk close enough to them, but it kind of looks like shooting a cow out in the field. I ain't gonna lie, because they're just out in the middle of this prairie and it's all frozen and they stick out.
Yeah.
So the trick is getting close, getting in range of them. But with the rifle, I feel confident. It's such a large animal that I'm pretty sure I can hit it. So often, I think they say over 90% of them don't go down on the first shot.
So then they're running?
You normally have to. They could be. The videos I've seen, most of them just stand there and take it. But I don't know. So this is. I'm telling you, man, this is new. I'm gonna have a full report.
Wow.
Come January, I'm gonna have a good story for you on the bison hunt.
All right, we're gonna look forward to that. In the meantime,
I'll have to send you. I'll freeze some steaks when I get them.
Yeah.
And then I'll overnight them to you so you can try some of this bison.
Yeah, and then we'll have
it coming out the ears.
We'll have tasting notes on a future episode as well. Then.
If you eat a bison, you might as well eat a horse, right?
There might as well be kissing cousins.
Might as well.
Wow. Well, I didn't think we were going here to end up the segment, but I'm glad we did. It's Malcolm Reed, howtobbqright.com, the website. We'll look forward to the Bison recap here first of the year. However, we do have one more segment left before 2024 closes out next month in December, so we'll look for you then. Always appreciate the time, Malcolm.
Yes, sir. Good to see you, Greg. Have a good one.
Wow, Malcolm Reed right there, and he is going on a bison hunt. Deer camp is starting. This is a man's man right here. Not like your humble host. Go bison hunting. Yikes. Maybe Eric Hinman has gone bison hunting. He is also a real man. We'll check with him in just a moment. He's standing by in the green room. Before we get to him, we'll talk to you about Pits and Spits. If you are serious about your grilling game, then you need to check out the latest additions from Pits and Spits, launching 2 game-changing products that will take your outdoor cooking to the next level. The griddle and the built-in pellet grill, kicking things off with the griddle, a gas griddle combined with the power of traditional grill, versatility of a flat-top griddle, engineered with precision, crafted from top-quality materials. This versatile griddle is set to revolutionize your outdoor cooking experience, constructed in that signature 304 marine-grade stainless steel, fully welded design. The griddle comes with 4 burners to accurately manage your heat zones, and it gets to a blistering hot 80,000 BTUs made with the signature Pits and Spits quality. The griddle is designed to last for generations. Now, maybe you're somebody that's building your ultimate outdoor kitchen. You have to check out that built-in pellet grill designed for the discerning grill master who demands top-tier performance. From low and slow smoking to high-heat searing, this grill can handle it all. Briskets, ribs, pizzas, veggies, you name it, the grill can cook it. And with Pits and Spits' legendary craftsmanship, you can be confident it's built to last. So, are you ready to take that cooking to the next level? Head on over to pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code BBQ Central for a free spice pack with orders of $500 or more. Once again, it's pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and then promo code BBQ Central at checkout for a free spice pack. We're back with Eric Hinman right after this. Stick around, be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by Fireboard, makers of Fireboard 2, Fireboard Pro, Fireboard Spark, the Beacon, and the new Fireboard Pulse. When you use the Fireboard app, you have total access to devices anywhere in the world. Check them out at fireboard.com or call with questions, 816-945-2232. My next guest is a creator, an athlete, an entrepreneur. In addition to making sure his body remains in elite condition, he's also feeding that body, and he's doing it in many different ways. One of those happens to be live fire cooking. Over 300,000 of you following him on Instagram. We go ahead and race to the hotline and welcome in Eric Hinman to the show. Eric, appreciate you joining me here this evening. Before we get going, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody, including all guests, which is this: would you rather make your own steak at home versus eating it at a steakhouse? Yes or no?
I would rather make it at home.
Yes. 95% of the YouTube voting public agreeing with you and me and my last guest, Malcolm Reed. We would also like to make it at home. Have you ever gone bison hunting like our pal Malcolm by chance?
No, I haven't. I caught the tail end of that conversation, but I'm intrigued. I grew up bird hunting with my dad. Never been deer hunting, never been any other kind of game hunting.
Your story is quite intense, quite varied. Is there a way to break it down into maybe 2 parts where you have pre-Eric Hinman fitness guy, and then wherever that specific time that might have taken over where you decide to become that guy?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I played sports in high school growing up, so I had an athletic background. I grew up in a really small town, Pulaski, New York, on Lake Ontario, and got into business right after college, starting my own property and casualty insurance agency. And I was driving a lot, sitting in a car, driving 50,000 miles per year. And I got pretty out of shape, and I didn't really have any education around exercise, healthy eating, sleep, and how those affect your well-being. I always thought that exercise and diet, they were for a physical aesthetic or for performance. I'd never correlated them with energy or mental clarity or emotional well-being. And I got into triathlon and specifically Ironmans in my late 20s. And, that really taught me that all of these wellness practices, they go far beyond just performance physically or any kind of physical aesthetic. It was really during those years that I associated it with, I just feel damn good. I have energy all the time. I don't have this lull in the afternoon anymore. I'm sleeping way better. My mood has been improved. I'm positive. And, I really started attracting a lot of opportunities into my life during that time period, just from doing something I loved and having high energy and exuding positive vibes.
How do you go from being out of shape insurance sales guy to eyeballing triathlons? How does that bridge even happen?
Yeah, hiring a personal trainer. That was my first step. I had accountability to someone else, and I had accountability to someone who was much more knowledgeable than me in a space where I wanted to learn. So for a year, I committed to a personal trainer 4 to 5 days per week, 30-minute sessions at 5:30 or 6 a.m. And through that, I started running again and then bought a bike and met some friends who had signed up for this half Ironman that was coming to Syracuse, New York, and decided I wanted to throw my hat in the ring and try a triathlon. So, I started small. I started with a sprint distance triathlon. Thought I was going to drown in the swim on that, and was just like gassed afterwards, and then did an Olympic distance triathlon and then a half Ironman. And after my first half Ironman, I remember telling my friends and family, I'm never doing that again. That was the worst thing I've ever done. I bonked on the run. I was just, oh man, I was so dehydrated and cramping up. And then like an hour later, I'm on the computer signing up for Ironman Lake Placid the next year. So it's amazing how the sport just kind of sucks you in, the pain becomes pleasure in a weird way.
What's an Ironman specifically?
So an Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, a 112 mile bike, and then a marathon at the end. And a fast time would be sub 10 hours for an amateur athlete. Wow. You have to do it in 17 hours to complete the event.
How do you train for something like this? I mean, you got to be pretty good at 3 different disciplines that aren't really alike at all.
Yeah, you swim, bike, and run a lot. I hired a coach during that time period. And again, like with everything in life, I feel like the only way to short track success is either surround yourself with people who've gotten where you want to go or hire coaches and mentors who can help you along the way. And that's what I did with triathlon. There was this guy, Mike Corona, who was beating me in all of the local triathlons. And I hired him as my coach. I'm like, he knows something I don't know. And I dedicated myself like a racehorse to his plan and just executed on a daily basis. And that compounded over time. So, with these endurance sports, there's a right way to train, which is training, and there's a wrong way to train, which is exercise. And there's nothing wrong with exercise, but purposeful training is going to get you much further in whatever you're looking to do in sport. So he taught me all about zone 2 heart rate training, which is a lower heart rate. For me, it was around 130 to 140 beats per minute. And I was doing 80% of my training in that heart rate zone, my running, my biking, most of my swimming. And then we would do a lot of training, short intervals at a very high intensity to increase threshold. And that's kind of the magic duo is you do a lot of this aerobic engine and durability training, and then you improve your top end. And then that allows you to hold a high percentage of your threshold for a long period of time. And that's the magic of any endurance sport is, if you have a high threshold and you can maintain 85% of that for 10 hours, you're going to go pretty damn fast.
No doubt. I had mentioned in the open that aside from health, or a component of the health is fueling your body the right way. You had mentioned that you are a grilling enthusiast. You can see that in some of your social media posts as well. What kind of cookers do you have?
Yeah, so this whole world of barbecue is fairly new to me. I'm pretty stoked that I'm on a barbecue talk show. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
The smokers and the grills that we have are a Yoder smoker. We have the YS 640. I have a Big Green Egg, and then the Schwenk grill for searing steaks at a very high temperature. And I kind of rotate between them based on what I'm feeling, whether I want it to be more art or more science, and, what cut of steaks we're grilling. But pretty much every single night we're using one of those. And we have friends that come over every night to do contrast therapy in our backyard, which is going from a sauna into an ice bath, and then always cook for people afterwards. So, I've found that the practice of grilling and smoking meats at home goes far beyond just, controlling what you're eating. I really like the community aspect of it. I like the reward of, learning how to do something and then just perfecting it over time. And I feel like with all of them, they're skill-based activities where you can continue progressing.
So we love Yoder here. We love Big Green Egg. They're really big brands in the space, but Schwenk actually happens to be a sponsor of the show as well. So if I could kind of spotlight that just for a few moments, I guess, what do you like specifically about the Schwenk grill? And then what do you like to cook the most? I guess what would be either most of the time to you, and then what do you like to do outside of the box maybe?
Yeah, I mean, the Schwenk is second to none in searing steaks. It has an infrared heater on the top of it that gets to 1,500 degrees, and you just put the steak about an inch away from that flame, and man, it cooks a perfect medium rare strip or ribeye, or is typically what we would do. And the sear is just incredible. And then there's this juice pan underneath it that the juice is dripped down into. So when you're done searing your steak, you roll it around in the juice pan and it just soaks in the juices. Every time it just comes out perfect medium rare, which is how I like it. And it comes out incredibly juicy.
So I notice on the side, there's different levels of height that you can get to that. So are you a guy that's mostly using it as close as possible, or depending on what you're cooking, you're definitely taking advantage of the different levels?
I'm mostly doing strips or ribeyes on it. So I'm mainly doing, 90 seconds each side. And that's, pretty good for a 2-inch steak. I did do a really thick bone-in pork chop on it. And with the bone-in pork chop, you're definitely varying how close it is to the flame, because if you just leave it right up there next to the flame, it's going to burn the top of it, but the middle is not going to cook well. So yeah, it does have that variability to be able to cook thicker pieces of meat as well.
It does have the ability to go wherever you might go. Do you take advantage of portability and take it in the outdoors or whatever you might do?
Yeah, I haven't yet. I just got it about 2 months ago, so haven't taken it out in nature or on any road trips yet. But I do like that feature of it, because obviously you're not taking the Yoder or the Big Green Egg with you unless you have a massive hauling truck.
I'd mentioned in the show you've amassed 300,000 plus Instagram followers. When do you realize that you have an audience that is not only growing, but they're actually interested in hearing what you have to say?
I mean, it honestly dates back to 2011, 12, the Ironman years. Fairly soon after I started my Instagram account, I recognized the community benefits of social media. And I've always enjoyed just being a part of a community and growing communities. And I've always enjoyed helping people in areas where I'm passionate. So, I mean, during the Ironman years, it was a very, loyal following around Ironman. People were really interested in how I was training, what my diet was, what my supplements were, how I was recovering, how I was balancing that with managing multiple businesses. So, early on, I recognized the power of interaction and community, but it wasn't until 2017, 2018 that, I started to really recognize the monetary opportunity of it. And that's really just as brands have shifted more and more of their marketing dollars to social media, to creators, to whitelisting. It's just growing at a rapid pace right now. And I mean, it makes sense. That's where a lot of eyeballs are going. People are just glued to their phones, and, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, these are, good and bad in ways. They're good in that you can be inspired, you can see a lot of things, and they're bad in that you can definitely get addicted to comparing yourself to others, or just endlessly scrolling. So I always caution people, like, go on there, get inspired, learn things, but, be cognizant of not spending your entire life just scrolling and tuning into other people's lives.
When you have amassed a following that you have, they're obviously engaged and they're interested in knowing what you do to hopefully better themselves. If you get approached by a brand, like, how are you going through your suss out period to decide who you're partnering with? Because you don't want to be seen as just like a cash grabber or getting some free stuff. You want to align with the folks that you feel might be as authentic as you are.
100%. So many of my partnerships I've had now since 2018, they've been long-term partnerships, and I'm specifically working with mainly early stage wellness brands. I know what my niche is. I know what I like. I know where I'm passionate. I know where I can move the needle for brands. And more than anything, I want to be valuable. I want to feel like I'm having an impact with whoever I'm working with. And I want to make sure that I'm adding knowledge for my audience and adding value for my audience. So yeah, generally, is it an early stage brand where I think I can really help them with awareness and helping them build community, helping make people feel like they're part of something with the brand? And is it something my audience would be receptive to? And is it something that weaves in well with my lifestyle? Does it work for me? Do I enjoy it? Am I wearing it all the time? I never intended for this to be a business. I kind of fell into it through Ironman. So I want to make sure that it never feels like that. Like, I really enjoy my life and how I get to live my life. So I make sure the brands I'm working with weave in well with my lifestyle.
You ever eaten horse meat before?
I've never eaten horse meat. No, I would say maybe cow heart is probably the most unique thing I've had on Valentine's Day one year.
Is that good? You said unique, so I don't know how to take that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't something I would consciously order again.
What changes or modifications should we as men be making in our lives today to help us get into a better health environment?
Yeah, great question. I think a lot of the things I do now, they just relate back to our ancestors and how our ancestors lived their lives. I'm outside a lot. I'm moving a lot. My heart rate is elevated. I expose myself to discomfort on a regular basis. I lift heavy things. And a lot of these things, we have to kind of force them back into our comfortable life because we're not, we have shelter. We're not running from animals. We don't live like our ancestors lived. So yeah, for me, it's exercise, being outside in nature, getting sunlight. I really enjoy the mountains. I enjoy mountain biking. I enjoy trail running. Eating single ingredient foods sourced from nature. This is a barbecue show. I love meat. We have meat every single night, but I'm mainly eating fruits, vegetables, meats, eggs, dairy products. So just keeping it simple and thinking back, like, how did our ancestors thrive and what are some things I can incorporate back into my life that allow me to live the way they did?
You're obviously in great shape. You can see your delts peaking right there if you're watching on video. You're shredded out. How do I get six-pack abs? I mean, I'm in pretty good shape for my age, just turned 50. I weigh out my food. I don't eat like crap 98% of the time. I hit my macros majority of the time. Have I missed my shot because I'm 50, or are there some things that I could be changing? Or is it too complicated?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm 44 years old now, and I've been doing it for 15 years, 2 workouts a day for 15 years. So for me, it's really just a lot of compound interest. But I mean, where you're going to get the most bang for your buck is diet, exactly what you said, eating consciously and eating single ingredient food sourced from nature, and then lifting moderately heavy weights and doing highly anaerobic activities. So, things like sprinting, in the gym, there's this assault bike that is just the devil's bike, doing intervals on that, spiking your heart rate, recovering, spiking your heart rate and recovering, and lifting heavy weights. Is going to give you the most bang for your buck for aesthetic. A lot of people go out and slog long miles running and biking, and, will that do the same thing? Yes, but you can get more bang for your buck if you're lifting heavy weights, doing complex movements like squatting, deadlifting, pressing, and then doing these highly anaerobic intervals.
You training for anything coming up we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I have a couple High Rocks races coming up, which is a new functional fitness race that came to the U.S. about 4 or 5 years ago. It's a mix of running and then strength workouts. It's a total of 5 miles of running and then about 30 minutes of various strength workouts. The CrossFit Games next year is my main goal in my age group. I've been really close to qualifying for the CrossFit Games the last several years. So that's my main goal is getting to the CrossFit Games in my age group, and then I would love to win or at least podium in High Rocks at the World Championships next June in my age group.
Wow. Super impressive, very inspiring. It's Eric Hinman on the show, erichinman.com, the website, and follow him on Instagram if you're not already at Eric Hinman. Eric, really appreciate the time and the insight into your life. Continued success. Thanks so much for doing it.
Thank you, Greg.
We got it. Eric Hinman right there. Again, erichinman.com, the website, and follow him, Eric Hinman, on Instagram as well. Wow, what a impressive guy. And, he's right up my alley when it comes to steaks and beef. He's a ribeye guy. He's a strip guy. Now, he's probably got me beat on amount of meat being eaten. They're doing it every day. Maybe I need to add that into the diet to help me get shredded out a little bit more. I might try it. I think I can do it. Hey, what do we love about ceramic cookers? You just heard Eric. He owns a Big Green Egg. Well, we love that they can get low and slow temperature. We love that they can get really hot. Now, we love to get 2-zone fires, but it's not really all that achievable in a round ceramic cooker because it's round. Well, that's where Primo changes the game with their oval design. Gives you the ability to execute that 2-zone setup that you desire. It also gives you other ceramic grill benefits as well. 60 different ways to cook on this thing. Only sold through dealers. So find a dealer near you by visiting the website primogrill.com. Best ceramics in the business, patented technology, and true 2-zone cooking capabilities with multiple sizes of ovals. Let's go. Primogrill.com. We're back to wrap the show. First hour right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back to the show, and we thank Eric Hinman for joining us the last segment. Once again, erichinman.com, Hinman, Eric, E-R-I-C, erichinman.com, and at Eric Hinman on Instagram. A lot of you people should be following him. I'm going to start incorporating more steaks and sprinting into my workout routine. As soon as he said spike the heart rate and anaerobic, I was like, oh, that sounds like sprinting. I feel like I could sprint, though. I've been running 5Ks, no more than 5Ks, 3 to 4 times a week. That ain't giving me the results I need. So now it's time to sprint. Maybe he'll give me a little program to work, and if it works out, I'll hire him. He hired people that did great for him. I have to hire Eric. I think he would be very expensive, though, because he's like a real Ironman triathlete. And he's going to be in the Rocks games, and he's going to qualify for the CrossFit games? Yeah, Oof. Now, that's an athlete right there. I think I could work some sprinting. That might be just what I need. Who's going to join me in my sprinting, everybody? Anybody? Any takers? This coming in from Light from Lantern. Boo! Leave the Bison alone. What kind of sport is that? Oh, come on. Hey, if they're out there, their number can get called. And Malcolm's out there to call numbers. Anyway, we're pointing to the second hour. Refresh your libations, and we'll be back right after this. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central show right here on the Barbecue Central Network. Stick around. We'll be right back.